I listened to Amanda Montell's second book, which is Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism, and this was actually pretty interesting. Obviously, it's a book about language and about how language can be used and manipulated, particularly in cult leaders, to control people, and the way that language can make you think. And I did find it interesting, but I also feel like parts of it were a little overly politicized. I feel like there was places where politics didn't have to be brought in, and yet, politicians were mentioned, and that took away from my enjoyment of the book a little bit. I also feel like some of it is a little bit too broad, and some of it is not. I don't really know how to explain it, um, but it's not necessarily current or useful. Um, it was interesting to read about like cult workouts, and how they use that language to get people to stay with this workout program. Soul Cycle was an example. Um, I just kind of feel like that's something completely different, if that makes sense. So yeah, I would say it's definitely worth checking out if you're interested in language. I would say, take it with a grain of salt. It might be something that, certain sections I feel like are of more interest. So if you do pick it up, I hope you get what you want out of it and enjoy it. So I finished The Red Palace by June Her, and this is set in mid 1700s Korea, and it is set in the palace. And this was actually a pretty interesting murder mystery story, and it has a lot of complex relationships between mostly parents and children's, and it also has a very intense mystery plot. The mystery plot is the driving force behind the story, and there is also a little bit of romance, but I feel like it was very well done. It was very well developed. All the characters were really well developed, and I felt like the setting was very well realized as well. There was a lot of description put into, making this feel like it was Korea and that it was kind of set in this time. And so we follow the main character, Heon, and she is the illegitimate daughter of a lord, and all she wants is to be recognized by her father, to have her father be proud of her. And so this leads her to studying really, really hard, and she becomes a palace nurse. And she quickly learns that there is lots of secrets in the palace. And along with this, she finds out some secrets about the crown prince. And all of this was more or less historically accurate. Obviously, some of the characters' names were changed, some characters were kind of just added in, but they were still based on, their position is a position that would have really been there. The way that they acted was based on the way somebody in that position with that personality would have acted. And it at the very back, Junher does send you to some other nonfiction books to learn more about this time. And I would definitely be interested to learn some more about this, as Korean history isn't something I really know a lot about. And I know as well that she has written 2 other books, and both of these are also murder mysteries. One is set in the 1400s, and one is set in the 1800s, both in Korea, both murder mysteries. So I'm definitely interested to read more by her. And even though this is YA, I still felt like it was not your typical YA. It didn't fall into the traps that YAs normally do. So yeah, it was a really interesting book. One of the first YA murder mysteries I've read, and I'd definitely be interested to read more of those and more by this author. I finished Mars 1 just a little bit ago, and this is a YA sci-fi story, and I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the relationships between Tristan and his parents. I feel like they felt realistic for a teenager, how he doesn't always get along with them, but then they truly do love each other. And I felt like he was pretty true to a teenager. He was maybe a little maturer than I would think a 16-year-old would be, but at the same time, with the fact that the whole premise behind the book is this is a family on the Mars 1 mission. They're going to go live on Mars. In order to do that, I do feel like he would have grown up faster and matured faster. I did like that. It did not have as much of a mystery element as I thought it did, and I was suspicious of the culprit for probably 30 to 40 pages at least before the big reveal, and that didn't really take away too much enjoyment from me. One thing that did, though, is I feel like the book should have maybe sped some stuff up. I mean, it did good on the character development, but I don't know how I feel about it ending with them getting to Mars, and there's absolutely nothing about them trying to colonize it and what exactly happened there. You know, that is something I would definitely have liked to have seen, but it's still a good book. It's still well written, very fast paced, very short chapters, which did help a lot in getting me to read it pretty fast. And yeah, so if you enjoy sci-fi and if you enjoy mystery, I do think you would enjoy this book. So I finished one heck of a manga series. It's called Blank Slate, and don't let the fact that it is published by Soho Beat mislead you into thinking that this is in any way romantic or anything. It is basically just a free-for-all, and you have your main character Zen, who is pretty much one of the most unredeemable, unrepentant villains I have found in a manga. And yeah, this was definitely an interesting read, and the ending just kind of left me speechless. Like, wow, there were so many ways you could have gone with that, and like, that's what you choose. But at the same time, it does kind of fit what Zen says at the beginning. I will kill and destroy whenever I want to. So if you like kind of the really, really, really dark mangas, the mangas that pretty much have completely unredeemable characters, this is definitely one that I think you would like. I will say it was decent. I do feel like there could have been a lot more character development, a lot more world building. There is a good bit of political stuff that goes on with you have this country Galay who invades other countries for their own good, or so they claim. And we get some nasty little secrets about that and about Zen's past since he has amnesia throughout most of the series. And yeah, like I said, it's interesting, but I feel like the world building could have been done better. But if you want something that's quick to read and has a lot of action, this is definitely a good one to pick up. So my library also had the codename Sailor V manga, which I realized was connected to Sailor Moon, but I didn't realize that this was actually the first part. And this was pretty good. You could definitely tell it was more of a beginner manga. The plotting was kind of all over the place at times, and the art, although passable, was definitely a kind of earlier art style. And you can hear my dog in the background squeaking. And yeah, I did enjoy it, and I can definitely see where it drew on stuff like Power Rangers, the kind of villain of the week. And it's definitely geared towards, younger kids who enjoy that type of stuff. It got a little repetitive, but it was pretty fun, and it was short at just 2 volumes. So yeah, if you're curious about Sailor Moon, or, a longtime fan of that, I would definitely check this out. Or if you're looking into maybe something for someone on the younger end, like, early teens of manga, I would say this could be maybe a good, like, starter manga. So I finally finished the Library Wars manga series, and it was actually pretty good. It had a lot more action than most Soho slash Jose series, at least that I've read, do. There's a lot of like political stuff in it, and yeah, I did enjoy it. And I'm kind of upset that the actual novels haven't been released in America, at least not that I could find, because I kind of would like to read them and see what the original was like. And was actually a pretty quick read of a series as well. There's not a whole lot of dialogue per page usually, so it goes through pretty quickly. And I felt like the action and romance were fairly well balanced throughout. So yeah, if you're looking for a romance manga that's not your, kind of high school romance manga, I could definitely recommend this one. Last month I read QQ Sweeper. This month I read the first 17 volumes of Queen's Quality, and this is a continuation of QQ Sweeper, and it goes more into the supernatural side, instead of just having the bugs from Bad Emotions like the QQ Sweeper did. This one deals more with people who have different powers, such as queens and snakes. and it dives into a whole lot more characters, a whole lot more of the inside, the collective subconscious, and it's been a really surprising series. I did not think I would enjoy it as much as I did, but so far I've given every volume 5 stars. I feel like it's very fast paced. The characters are very well written. The relationship with Fumi and Kiyotaro is absolutely adorable. I am kind of surprised it's only rated teen. There's nothing explicit in it, but Kiyotaro and Fumi do have quite a few makeout scenes, and normally, there's enough in that to get it pushed to older teen, and that is more or less what I would recommend it to. But I do say it's a very good series, and it's very interesting, very well developed, and I really do hope to see an anime of this. My library had the first 10 volumes of Yona of the Dawn, so I picked that up to read it, and I would say it's kind of a typical historic fantasy. There's not a whole lot of new ground covered. The characters are okay, but again, they're nothing really special. I do think if you like historical fantasy, this would be a really good series to pick up. I do like the character designs. The plot moves very fast. Yona has good character development. I think it might just be a matter of the fact that I've read a lot of Soho manga, and this is just something that's kind of par of the course, but it's still an interesting series, and I am going to continue it. I actually have volumes 11 through 38. I'm getting them through other libraries in my state, and right now I have up to 19, and then once I get 20, I'll be able to go up to, I believe it's 25. So I will update more on that in the next video.